have the resources in this country. We have the ingenuity. We have the courage and we have the compassion, and we must, in this decade, bring all of these strengths to bear effectively so that we can lift off the conscience of our affluent nation the shame of slums and squalor and the blight of deterioration and decay. We must make sure that every family in America lives in a home of dignity, in a neighborhood of pride, and a community of opportunity, and a city of promise and hope.
Alan, we're in West Oakland right now, and behind us is one of the city's biggest homeless camps. It stretches for blocks on this warehouse district, as you can see.
According to government figures, more than 1 million school-aged children are homeless. The number of homeless families in the rural and suburban U.S. has risen by 60%.
More homeless veterans are now women, about 10% according to the VA. But most long-term housing is designed for men, and that's where some volunteers are making a difference, helping women veterans and their families.
Just a windy and fairly cold night. Actually, with the real feel readings could be as low as -20.
You know, I've experienced some pretty cold nights out here, but tonight is definitely one of the top ones. Hello. Homeless outreach. These are the kind of locations that we find people in.
It's freezing out tonight. Yeah. This is a code blue. Right. What is a code blue?
What you're about to see is horrific. This mentally disturbed homeless man, illegally camping in the hills above Albuquerque, New Mexico, will soon fall victim to police bullets.
I'm telling you the thing. I am Department of Defense.
Now, almost every day that goes by in the media, you hear about education, jobs, and healthcare. You never hear about affordable housing.
Are you doing okay medically? When I started, I was actually really shocked how ill people were on the street. It was like going to a third world country.
And this is a map that shows you foreclosures initiated over the last 2 years.
Every single block has foreclosures.
Yes.
Hey, Glenda, how you doing, sweetie? How's that eye? Do you know the name of the person that hurt you?
Yeah.
Hey, guys, she was assaulted last Tuesday. She may have some bruised or broken ribs.
It is estimated the poverty rate for kids in this country will soon hit 25%. Those children would be the largest American generation to be raised in hard times since the Great Depression.
First day, psychologically, how it hits you like you're numb. You have no friends in the world. People like, even though they probably don't know you're alienated, but you yourself know it, and you look like you don't have a friend in the world. It's like everybody's walking past you, and you're in this bubble, you're looking out at the rest of the world. It's a strange feeling, man. It's surreal. As the hour goes down, like people go to work 9 to 5, and it's getting later and later and later. You're trying to think about where am I going to go? Where am I going to sleep? And you know, I've just been fortunate enough to find these homeless shelters, but this is my last stop here, and I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't get my apartment or my room after this.
Yeah, people are still of the belief that this is the land of opportunity, that you can go out and get a minimum wage job, and then you get another job that pays you more than a minimum wage, and you scoot yourself up. When I was growing up, that was absolutely true. You know, you wanted to be a construction guy. You took your dad's hammer, threw it through your belt loop, you walked on the construction site, and you told the foreman that you could swing a hammer. He looked at you, he knew. He knew you couldn't do it. But he gave you a shot, let you do it. Let's come on there. You went and got a little spot at the YMCA. It was pretty cool. $10 a night. You could go get a little spot, go get your room, stash your stuff, get a good night's sleep, go down the hall in the morning, use the shared bathroom, and go off and try again, you know, at the same job. And you can't do that. First, all those SROs, single room occupancy units, they're gone. They became condos for sale. They became parking lots. YMCA got out of the business. You know, when I was growing up, there was no such thing as homelessness. There was no such thing. We had some people that had problems, you know, Skid Row and these types of things, alcoholic problems, but we didn't have a population that was so big that we coined a phrase and named it homelessness, you know, and now it's become ingrained in our society. But we know that if we can get the attention of the American people, and if they can really understand this one thing, that you can work 40 hours in a week and still not have enough to get housing, if we can get them to understand that, then we can bring the solution, because everybody believes America still is the land of opportunity. And the reality of it is, we're not.
Oh, it's brutal out here.
Start dismantling your tent before I do.
This cop saying he's gonna start ripping down tents.
Yeah, we're getting up. Yeah, we're getting up.
Good morning. Pretty good. With my 6 blankets.
Pretty good till about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's about 10 minutes ago. I thought you said you'd do it.
You said that you would help us.
Start doing that now.
There's a process, dude. There's things inside the tents.
It's hazardous for you to be out here in this weather. You need to find shelter in one of our service providers.
I have shelter.
Oh, jeez.
The service providers suck. Why don't you go there?
So we're going to have to take the tent and don't take them.
Spend 2 nights there and see if you see anybody out there.
You guys can yell at me all morning, but you had a lawful order to dismantle these tents.
We're dismantling.
So if it doesn't start to happen, I have a truck coming. We're going to take the tents. We're going to write everybody a ticket for disobeying a lawful order.
What about camping bans?
The city is worried about your well-being. You're laying out here in a blue.
they're not.
You can't be out here.
They weren't worried at 4 o'clock.
I'm really worried at 3 o'clock.
They weren't worried at 2 o'clock. They weren't worried at 1 o'clock.
But I am not.
You got a hot. That's all it is.
You guys got 5 minutes to dismantle.
You'd let us stay in the warm tents.
That's your warm car.
Absolutely, but let's start with you first. What's your name and date of birth?
Stephanie? S-T-E-P-H.
Yeah, you.
Oh, yeah, didn't I ask first?
Yeah, absolutely. What's your last name, Stephanie?
What's your last
first
name?
and last name, sir?
So are you guys not going to cooperate? I think I'm being really smooth.
Oh, yeah, you've been smooth. Look at that. Thank you.
About your safety, this is a bad snowstorm. People should be out
so
here.
we're safer standing.
Now I have frostbite on my fingers thanks to you.
All right, what's your last name, Stephanie? Everybody here, so no matter how long it takes, we're going to ID everybody that's here. Okay? Because you guys are all in violation of a lawful order. All right? We're out here because
we're violation of a camping ban.
No, this is a lawful order I gave you to dismount these tents and leave.
We're just
Not fucking camping is what only gave.
Okay. So you're going to refuse to give me your name again?
You gave us a lawful order to stop.
I have a right to survive. I have a right to go where I want to go. That's what I put my life on the line for. When I went in the Marine Corps.
What I don't understand is, as a veteran, you have more opportunities to get housing.
That's not the point.
No, we don't.
The point is,
Right.
y'all coming down here doing your jobs, telling them to take it down and try to get them to go in the shelter. I am, just because I am classified in such thing of animals and plants. I don't need to be cattle like a dog. I don't need to be cattle like cattle. I have a right to go upon this earth anywhere I choose it. I have a right to survive. That right was not given to me by man. That right was given to me by God. And everything that y'all doing right now, everything that the city of Denver have done right now, as far as the state of Colorado, have shot the market rate for housing up so high. Most people, even making $11 an hour, you cannot even get a decent place.
I'm shaking. I'm not feeling better yet. I'm not feeling better yet. I gotta have me another drink, dude. I'm not feeling good yet. I'm shaking. I don't want to die yet this morning. I don't want to die yet this morning. I don't want to die yet this morning. All right, now, okay, here we go. You know what you want to know? I'm Justin. Some pretty nice person gave me a burrito a little while ago. I'm probably not gonna eat. I got my sack here. Well, I found my pants. I found these on the sidewalk because mine are full of bugs. What's in my magic cart? That's not a magic cart. That is my Cadillac, baby. That's my Cadillac. Okay, now if you're a homeless person, you gotta have some certain things, right? You gotta have some booze. You gotta have some booze. You gotta have a blanket. Where'd my paper to go? You gotta have paper. Paper, you gotta have paper. Plastic, you gotta have plastic. Bungee cords and oh, you gotta have, well, obviously you gotta have your son. Obviously you gotta have your son. I'll make you a film. I'll make you a film. And you gotta have your son. And then look, come here, come on over, come on. You gotta have a kind of a light. Sometimes it's kind of good to have a light. Throw some chips. Man, that's kind of like basically it. And this is all blank. It's all blankets. That's my coat. I mean, it's been winter, dude. It's been winter. I didn't want to freeze. I didn't freeze to death. I came close once. The first storm that came through, I woke up under 2 inches of ice and 4 inches of snow, man. The first night I was homeless, that was a scary that, dude. First night, I don't know, dude. No, I was like, I didn't have the shopping cart or anything else, right? I was like, oh, okay. Oh, there's all kinds of scary people out here. I don't care now, but I mean, there's all kinds of scary people, right? And I'm from the mountains. I'm from up in the mountains, and I get dropped down out here, and I'm in the middle of the block down there. You got bugs. Everybody robs you, steals your whatever. Any worst thing you can imagine goes on down there, dude. I've seen it. I've watched it, and it ain't pretty, dude. I watched a girl get stabbed to death down there, dude. It was on the news and everything. I was like right there. I was like right there. No, I've seen it. No, and I've been right next to it and everything else. And I woke up next to dead guys in the drunk tank of.
You still see your grandparents are probably too old.
No.
Your parents still around?
They're all gone. They passed away, my friend. Yeah, well, yeah. My mom, my father killed himself when I was 5, so. Then my stepdad, there was my dad, because I didn't even know my dad really, because I didn't. He was a lumberjack up there in Camas. Up in Camas, he had a tree fall on him. He was cutting down a tree. Last thing he remembered was the tree hitting the ground. So he got paralyzed. He died. I was in prison. He died. He died now that I was in prison. My mom, she died of double pneumonia in 2005. But thank you, Lord, for being my friend, because he helps me every day. And I love you, brother. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for being my friend. And I will get by another day. I will get by another day, because I will.
If you had a magic wand, you could wave it and get whatever you wanted. What would you get?
My family back. My family back. I have my grandma's. I have my family back. You wanted to know? I just told you. I have my grandma's back. You made me cry, Dad. You're a dumb dude. You're a dumb. If I had everything at my grandma's. I didn't mean it by that.
I'm not trying to hurt your feelings.
I know you're not, dude. I know you're not. But you wanted to know, dude. I told you. Nah, I'm sorry I said that. If I had a magic wand, dude, I'd have my mom, my grandma, I had my family back, and I'd have some hugs, and I would have some love, and stuff like that. And if you want to know, dude, that's it right there, dude.
I quote the Egyptian novelist Naguib Mahfouz, who says, "Nothing records the effects of a sad life as graphically as the human body." In a psychological sense, that's absolutely true. People that are deprived early will then create conditions for themselves that'll keep the deprivation going. Because the way we cope with emotional deprivation, for example, might be to get very hostile. And if you're hostile, you're going to be rejected. And that's going to reinforce your sense of being rejected in the first place. Or you might, to deal with the pain that's unbearable, turn to addictions, and all the addictions are always about pain. I mean, my mantra is not why the addiction, but why the pain. And I can show that, how that's true physiologically, how that's true psychologically, spiritually. So then people start engaging in addictions as a way of dealing with their pain. But that addiction will then further isolate them. Because family members don't want to deal with an addict, reasonably so. It's very difficult and painful to do so. But for the addict, it reinforces that I'm all alone, there's nobody there for me, and which makes them further inclined to engage in addictive behavior to soothe that pain. A sex trade worker, a 27-year-old, said to me, when I asked her what heroin did for her, she said, the first time I did heroin, it felt like a warm, soft hug. And what she's saying is she experienced a sense of love and connection, which is what the endorphins do in the brain. And a guy in detox a few years ago, 6-foot-something, muscles, tattoos, scars, earring, everything, that if he was walking towards me in an alley, I'd run the other way. When I asked him, what did the heroin do for you? And he said, I don't know how to tell you this, doc, but it's like when you're 3 years old and you're shivering because you're sick as a kid and your mother wraps you in a warm blanket, puts you on her lap and gives you some warm chicken soup. That's what the heroin feels like. He's talking about love. Now, then you ask, why can't people give it up? They can't give it up because it's the only way they found that they're going to have pain relief in their life, pleasure and delight and reward, and a sense of connection. So homelessness in the chronically homeless may be seen as a coping mechanism.
Thank you, sir. Just pull up a chair right there. I'm surprised they're not coming here. We get a lot of that. The Arch facility is what we call a low-demand shelter. The request of low demand is that we don't ask you to do anything specific in order to walk through the door other than comply with our security and behavior guidelines. For us, the definition of low demand shelter includes that we're not requiring any participation in a program or service in order to be in the building. There's not going to be a requirement for you to be sober to be in the building. You can come in and under the influence of drug or alcohol, we just can't have you bringing it in with you. So it's an opportunity to work with our clientele on sobriety issues, and we'd much rather have them inside the building and under the influence than in a safety concern on the outside of the building. What we've got right now is welcome to our third floor. This is our dormitory floor here at the Arch. We were originally constructed on this property as a 100-bed facility. They knew when they built it that it was underbuilt. Probably didn't know that it was as underbuilt as it actually is. Today we sleep 230 men in this facility every night versus the 100 beds that we were created with. But we're going to take a look at the dormitories themselves. During the night sleep, we're going to sleep 100 men up here. There are case management clients. They're in a plan, they're in a program, they're working on some goals that they've set through their program. It may be income stability, it may be sobriety. There's a lot of different kinds of things that case management will address. But overnight, they get to sleep in our dormitories, which are bunk bed style. We have some storage underneath each bed. They love being able to store their own stuff, and because they're in our shelter program, they're in our case management program, each bed is assigned overnight to a specific individual. So we'll have, on this floor, there are 100 bunk beds, and then overnight, the way we get to the 230 is we also have some mats that go down on the floors, and we're sleeping in places in this building that we were never really intended to sleep, including our lobby, our 2 conference rooms, as well as our dining room. Our overall population profile is a 35 to 45-year-old Caucasian male struggling with mental health, drug and alcohol addiction. We see a lot of veterans in that mix too. And then we've got a lot of women and children. Although this is a men's overnight shelter, the demographic for homelessness across the nation has changed, and Austin's no different. And I think that's one of the things that we as a community have got to address is the systemic generalization of homelessness. And we've got 3 generations of homeless people walking through our doors sometimes during the day, and it's just got to something that we've got to get on top of. So Prince Stiffs is a shelter provider, but we're also a housing provider. We recognize the necessity of shelter, but we do look at shelter as a band-aid to the issue of homelessness. Really, the solution for homelessness is housing. If you've got limited housing opportunities, you've got limited opportunities to house the homeless. So it's really been a push in our community to get more housing stock on the ground so that we can solve homelessness and not just band-aid it with shelter.
The Without Housing report we put it out in 2006. We formed WRAP in mid-2005 and immediately started work on these funding trends in affordable housing in both rural through the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and urban through Housing and Urban Development. Because we wanted to look at, all right, we know the shelter system started in late 82, early 83, and by mid-1983 was across the country. By 1987, the federal government had passed homeless funding as a major program of theirs. What the hell happened right before that?
We have been learning steadily all over the nation more about the need of better housing for our citizens. It has taken initiative, and at last we're getting examples like this. In this particular work of the U.S. Housing Authority, this is, I think, represents the 100th housing dwelling unit. 100,000 families just built through this one agency.
If there's one homeless person in the country, it's a bad problem. You shouldn't have a civilized society, a rich society, in which people have to, sleep on the street or beg. I mean, that's just a scandal.
Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. and these will be our first priorities, and on these principles there will be no compromise.
One of the points that we really felt was important to get across when you're talking about cause and effect is priorities. If nobody's making money on it, i.e. it's not a commodity, then it has no value. And it isn't a priority of the federal government. So housing that was just about people, that was not a commodity, that was just about living up to the responsibilities of the federal government to ensure people have a clean, safe place to live, that's not important anymore. That's not a value.
George Herbert Walker Bush.
William Jefferson Clinton, do solemnly.
Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
Well, it makes sense, right? The general wages and living standards of working class and poor people have stayed constant or declined since the late 70s. The numbers of people who need housing have grown because of the growth in the population. The supply has not grown to nearly the same extent. So somebody's going to get squeezed out, and somebody, as people, low-income people all over the country have been squeezed out of the bottom. So now there's a new public housing, so the shelter system is like a public housing system. And because housing is not treated as a human right or an entitlement, which it should be in a country as wealthy as this one.
In order for us to get and be a productive society, I think it's incumbent upon all of us to try to resolve this issue. It's gone on far too long.
It's a fundamental right, like having food or education or health care. Actually, if anybody cares, it's take a look at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Whereas the peoples of the United Nations have in the Charter reaffirmed their faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, and in the equal rights of men and women, and have determined...
Una concepció comuna d'aquests drets i llibertats és la més gran importància per al dret de reivindicació. 生活水準の向上と促進することを決意したので akan ruwen dimanusia secara adil. Punika wanta ruwen idegani. ولما كان من الضروري أن يتولى القانون حماية حقوق الإنسان.
It's considered just a general right. Actually, the U.S. doesn't accept the Universal Declaration. In fact, it's almost explicitly rejected most of it. There are three parts. There's civic and political rights, right to vote and so on. There's social and economic rights, and there's cultural rights. And they're all on par. But the U.S. doesn't even, just dismisses the cultural community rights and rejects the socioeconomic rights.
Politicians have concluded that there is no answer because the answer requires resources. I don't believe that's true. I think that housing is the answer to homelessness, that you have to have supportive housing, yet we're not willing to prioritize that as a society. And the crazy thing is that we're paying for it anyway. When you jail a homeless person in San Francisco, it costs $140 a night. That's about what it costs in some, fairly nice hotels outside of the city. Yet we insist on believing that criminalization of homelessness is the answer, that if we punish people for being homeless and being mentally ill, that they're going to cure themselves and be off the streets, when in fact it just becomes a cycle.
dirty down here. Stinks. Smells like you know, whenever I gotta use the restroom, I'll go to the subway, use the bathroom. You get people down here that they destroy your you know, tweakers. It sucks. I have a buddy that stays back here with me. He's at work right now. He sells bottled water on the strip. And there's a couple guys that stay next door. One of them's in a wheelchair. He makes some palm roses. It's hell. Paralyzed from the waist down. He was a Vietnam vet. Got hurt in combat.
You can go to the city or the county and get a map. And it shows you all the tunnels, all over the, county. And there's over 400 miles. They're long. They go all the way down to the freeway and underneath it. Clear on the other side of Flamingo somewhere, or Tropicana somewhere. That's where they come out.
Yeah, this is tunnel number 1. It's pretty boring down here, really, when you're by yourself. You know, no music, no TV. You know, I'm just watching some of my shows, and it's...
I'm Vicky. Living on the tunnels in Las Vegas for 10 years. And
she don't have too much to say, but my name's Guy. We met around 10 years ago and on the streets, and she was in the same situation, and she didn't know what to do or nothing, and I just asked her if she wanted a place to stay, and wasn't the best place, but
I stayed in a hotel with some guy, and he left me, told me to go across the street to get something to eat, and when I came back, he was gone. So I was stranded, and he walked by and calls me over, just to get high. So yeah, so he took me behind there.
That was 10 years ago. We haven't, I haven't drank in over 30 years, so. Yeah, we've had apartments, we've had, I only make $467 on my Social Security, and just not enough to stay. We do better in the summertime because it gets too hot. I'm getting too old. We get inside, we can take showers and everything. If we really get bad, we can go to the truck stop, costs $10, take a shower, We fly aside just to make a few dollars and make ends meet, You get all the abuse, especially a girl. She ain't a big girl, and she's not aggressive or, You can only say no, and then, it's not nice. It really isn't. A lot of people are one check away from being where we are, and it's not nice. It's not nice.
And I find myself today, I know I don't look it, but I find myself in a homeless state. And my homelessness is not just a building. I'm homeless within my body because I don't know, am I making the right choices? Am I doing the right thing? I don't know. So instead of me just asking you or asking the next person, I need to be still and be all right with I'm clean, I'm in a safe environment. I'm not out there doing things that's gonna cost me. Am I gonna die the next minute, Am I gonna stand on the corner and get with a John? It might be an axe murder or whatever, and I won't even have a chance anymore.
When I first got out, I was actually attacked by a guy from behind and everything. He hit me in the face and actually choked me around my neck. I survived from that. Everything. Then December 13th, I was hit in the head with a rock from behind. They actually caught that guy A couple of days later to a week, I actually ended up going into a seizure due to that. And my brother actually was going to his spot, but something told him to come back and check up on me because I was laying out here by the arch.
It's known, everybody knows it in here that it's more dangerous for women. The world is more dangerous for women, and that they get lost in the overall tapestry of homelessness. I mean, everybody's heart breaks for the children, first of all, and rightly so. Then there is the veteran, then there is the mentally ill. Oh, by the way, there is a specific population called women that are having very specific needs that we don't listen to enough. So, you know, we made it a priority here, and by that, we pushed others to look at it. Any beds available to them, or at least until a year ago, there were hardly any beds available for them. And it's an unsafe place for women to be. Don't we tell all our daughters to not walk in the street alone at night in a dark neighborhood? You know, that's the stereotype. Imagine that you have nowhere to go or nowhere to hide when something happens.
Tonight is income inequality. A good way to figure out which side of it you're on is whether you're currently paying for HBO or stealing it.
A nationwide push, workers calling for a much higher minimum wage.
Workers at McDonald's, Wendy's, Domino's Pizza, and more will walk off the job today.
We're looking at the federal minimum wage as the one created in 1938 under the Fair Labor Standards Act, okay, which was in response to 1 million people wandering our nation looking for jobs that would sustain them. And after the Depression, the Congress got together and started to, you know, say, well, we should set a standard that ensures that if somebody puts in their 40 hours in a week, then they can afford the basics. So that makes sense. It makes sense to me. It makes sense to you. So we take that and embrace that, but the problem is they never index it to anything. So they just keep picking this number out of the air, and both halves of Congress fight over it, debate over it, and go batting it back and forth. And so, you know, maybe get raised $1, maybe it's 75 cents, whatever. So we sort of started this problem backwards. You know, we now have 3.5 million people experiencing homelessness in this nation. And from what we can tell at House the Homeless, there's tremendous efforts to try and deal with the fallout, you know. Some more successful than others. Some different approaches, like housing first, get them off the streets, and then start dealing with them. You know, which is one, you know, we House the Homeless believes in. That's the name of our organization since 1989, so you know that's the approach that we embrace. And I used to look at this population as who they are, the breakdown, the veterans, recently released people out of the penal system, single women with children, substance abusers, alcoholics, really all the different factions. But now we stood back and looked at the folly of that approach and realized that in order to really deal with it in this society, which is capitalistic-based, we view them as this bolus group that falls into two factions, those who can work and those who can't work. So we walk away with this wage, $7.25, and but I live in America, and anybody who's lived in America has traveled. Anybody who's traveled to some place where it's more expensive than where they came from, and they travel someplace where it's less expensive. Right now, the government uses the concept of one size fits all. That's what they keep doing. It's like $7.25 for everybody. So whether you live in Washington, D.C., or whether you live in Harlingen, Texas, they're going to set it at $7.25. Right now, there's talk of raising it to $10 an hour. Well, the day that that's passed at $10 an hour, and that's what the president is promoting for, it's not going to get one minimum wage homeless worker off of the streets of Washington, D.C. At the same time, that $10 an hour wage is going to hurt small business in rural America. And make no mistake, most of America is rural. They're trying to push a round peg into a square hole. And they've been doing it over and over again. And what happens is it's a very sophomoric approach to our nation that is made of 1,000 economies. So in 1997, we devised a single national formula based on existing government guidelines. It's three-pronged.
There you are. Ah, I bumped into the wall.
Can you hear this?
Can you hear people talking?
I hear Aunt Dee Dee.
Yeah?
Oh, now I want to do it. I want to be cool. I want to see them.
Here, you can help me with it.
Kenny, you have a visitor outside. Says Kenny, you have a visitor outside.
Guys, come on. Go ahead. I just exploded. Can I look at purple at?
So here at the road home, we have a family shelter, a women's shelter, and a men's shelter. So one of the big fears that our families have when they come down to the shelter is that all of a sudden Child and Family Services is going to be involved and they're going to take their kids away. Having worked very closely with the CPS, we work really hard to reassure families that's not how it works. The families are also subject to the whims of whether it's economic instability or family instability or health problems. Families run out of resources and they're not able to stay in an apartment anymore or stay with family or stay with friends or stay at a hotel. I mean, but a lot of times, by the time the families walk through those doors, they've exhausted all of those resources. How are you getting so wet, child? Oh my gosh.
So we have this huge playground. There's, they have the ramp for all of the kids and stuff like that in the strollers still. They have this grass area over here. We try to keep the kids away from the gate just because of the single men because this is the men's side of the shelter. We have our slide in the playground for the kids and stuff like that.
I've been on and off homelessness since, I think for the first 6 months of his life, we were stable. And then I lost my job, which entailed lost my apartment. But for You know, for after that 6 months, we did pretty well. You know, we stayed with friends here and there. We stayed with family. But it's like I kind of started to feel like I was a burden to these people. You know, because then they have to deal with my kid having his little fits and this, that, and the other. So, you know, I got another job and I was paying for hotel rooms, you know, 2 weeks out of each paycheck. And that just got really expensive and really pricey. So you're just like, all right, well, I got to keep doing it. I got to keep doing it. I got to get up. I got to go to work. And with having a child with special abilities, you don't really get much downtime, especially when you're a single parent. You don't at all. You're constantly on the go, on the move, doing this, doing that, picking up this, picking up that. So you resort to, of course, a drug that makes you stay awake. And I resorted to that. Surprisingly, I got off it by myself. I didn't go to rehab or anything. I just kind of kicked it. I've been clean for 3 months, and we've been here.
There are about 150 beds in this large dorm area. For families who have small children, it'll be like if it's a single mom and a small, like a 1 or 2 year old, they'll share one of these small little bunks. And each family is allowed one of these totes per person. So this has to be able to fit basically all of your earthly belongings in it. It's not a lot of space, as you can tell, and it's tough for families. One of the great frustrations here in Salt Lake is that there's a substantial lack of affordable housing. And so that's one of the barriers that clients have, is finding a place that they can continue to afford after our assistance ends. Clients a lot of times face other barriers to getting housing, whether it's their criminal background or they have evictions from prior apartments. And so it can sometimes be really difficult for clients to find a place to live that will accept them with their background or with the funding from the road home to help them get out of the rut that they're in.
I wasn't going to do that. It's one I did. It's called Massacre. Oh, what? Massacre. I'm still working on this one. It's called Massacre, and it's about a girl and I. Most people in America, we fight in war. We be sent to fight in wars. That's me, that's her.
Oh, wow, you got pictures of both of us.
Read this one. It starts with me. Salam, that's her, because she was from East Africa. She was caught in a war between Ethiopia and Eritrea.
Hey, move your truck back to this compound over here. Break. 10 seconds. Whenever they close you.
We had stuff that was happening that was kind of like Vietnam. It was still a military where they would charge you for shooting accidentally. Some of the stuff they charging these troops with now, some of it is just blatant. If you don't get off duty and go out and do something, if it's in the heat of battle, then I can pretty much, because our team went through that. There was a guy hadn't seen his child, and the letter. We got some letters and stuff. We were moving really fast. They have time to meet it. So it was next to this village. We were just wrapping up things, and the guy opened his letter up and was looking at this baby for the first time, and somebody shot him. We went into this we tracked the suspect shooting into this village, and we was kind of lost for a minute. That's the camaraderie we had, because we were close. They call them 18 detachment. But my thing is getting better. It's going to be better. I always look at myself as being temporary. I ain't never, I come here way to Washington, D.C., nation's capital, to be poor and live on the street. That's not my thing. I'm not going to accept that, ever. Normally, I don't even be out here. I'll be at another little campus in this area. That's why I was getting ready to but at that time, I wanted peace. Sometimes I need solitude from some of the insanity there. But it's not all insanity, but you got quite a few people that's mentally ill, and you be thinking, especially some of the females, you just have to be very protective. Then you got people out here who walk around looking for, I remember what you talk about, all kind of warlike mentality thing, their biggest concept is they put fear into you, the Godzilla mentality. Brother, get a job and some other stuff, That's why I know it's going to be temporary, because it's getting badder out here. It's getting worse out here. People used to respect somebody coming out. It's a place called McPherson Park, Franklin Park. Last time I lined up, I seen violence of 2 other individuals. I wonder, this guy because the guy stabbed the guy. I said, this guy got to go, 2 black men. This guy got to go to the courthouse and explain to the judge that he stabbed another individual over free peanut butter and jelly and bologna and cheese sandwich. How low can you? I couldn't even imagine. It's getting scary. That's why every move I want to make want to be the right move. The right move is give me a place out Virginia, get me a security, police type of position so I can have a weapon. I'm comfortable with it now. Me and the weapons on the war, we had, I write about it. It was these times. It was like a party of peanuts. You got, it was just wild. Some of the stuff you had to get past. It was like, you trying to hurt me, and then after a while, you see things flying off the body. Yeah. Then all of a sudden you're someone else. And then when time come home, they say, now you finished. Here's your discharge paper. Go on home and have a nice life. But you have all these things going on, and you wake up in the night thinking you've been mortified. You're back in the United States. And you pass all that, and you come to this homeless stage. You see people some of them just getting over. They ain't trying to do nothing. That's a little bit of my story about mental illness, the struggle. I talk about the struggle there a lot because there's so many people that were struggling that, but never get out of it. That's the sad part about it.
So, yeah, we just got a report. Somebody called the office and said that the cops are going tent to tent, doing some searches. So as you can see, it's a gang of cops down here. And like they got folks out the tents too. So this is everyday occurrence on Skid Row, and right in the middle of stuff, people's always calling the office saying the cops just shot somebody, the cops just beat the hell out of somebody. The cops is writing hell of a tickets. They're taking property. The issue every day is something different. They don't stop. But, they just approved this new proposition, Triple H, that's supposed to build all this housing, right? By the time they get the housing built, everybody gonna be in the county jail. So where's the housing gonna be built for? The cops don't understand that they can't police their way out of this. That's been the problem with the city all this time. They've been trying to police their way out of homelessness, and it ain't happening like that. So as you can see right here, So, see what she said? Slapstick. So what's the operation, Sergeant?
There's no operation. It's the tent enforcement.
What is it called?
Tent enforcement.
Tent enforcement. What's the goal?
Enforcement.
Enforcement. So enforcement can mean yeah.
Tents can't be up.
What ordinance is that?
So what are you telling people?
Between 6 and 9. LA Municipal Code.
Right? So what are you telling them?
You know about that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out how much you know about it.
I know about it because I'm supervisor.
I can tell.
Every day, we're going to hit one street, and then we try to solve the problem. Let them know. All they have to do is bring it down. Very simple.
Bring it down.
They don't do that. And, 36 inches.
Where you get the 36 inches from? Would you say 36 what?
Inches. And who are you to question me? Let me question you.
I'm General Dogon. That's where you a sergeant. Yeah, you in my community. Yeah, I'm in the military, all right. I don't think so. I'm not in yours. Yeah, I'm not in yours. But I'm a general. Yeah, so you respect my yeah.
Members, we can ask questions.
Yeah.
As community members, we can ask questions. That's the problem. You think because you're an officer, someone can't ask you a simple question, and you have to respond like that?
When you become like that, disrespectful. I'm a general.
Now you ask me who am I? That's what. That is my name.
That is his name.
You want a business card?
You want his business card?
Now they can. That way we'll know who's talking.
But at least you can answer.
What? ID? The hell with an ID? What am I gonna do with an ID? You only need ID when you're breaking the law. Or when you're writing the check.
Let me see your ID.
Yeah. I need a business card. File this complaint.
We're just waiting, sir.
So, talking about a lot of folks that's out here that have disabilities, right? And a lot of folks, is dumped off on Skid Row with serious mental disabilities. You have a lot of people that has mental disability that's neglected on Skid Row. And a lot of folks, the cops come by, like right now, and they'll tell a person, oh, you violated 4018D. But somebody in this state of condition, they don't know what 4118D, they don't know what's going on, they don't know, how to deal with the police in situations like this. So the situation can't escalate, in most incidents. That's how my brother O'Connell ended up getting shot, And some other people like Africa ended up getting shot.
Captain Rayner and Captain Harold don't know about you.
So this has been an ongoing problem, as you can see right now. Community residents on one side of the fence and the police on the other side.
Talk to our people like that. Hey, what? No, I'm telling him to calm down. I'm not talking to you. Yeah. Oh, you want me to calm down? What you know about being calm? There it is there. My point is made.
So let's go to the other street.
We're going to follow you to the other. But calm that down, sir.
That's right.
I know. Anybody can holler. Yeah, Captain Rayner's getting the email on you right now. Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
He's gonna try to shoot our dog.
So the problem with Skid Row is all the money is being put into police. And matter of fact, as soon as they declared a homeless state of emergency in Los Angeles in 2015, right? They said they built this new ad hoc committee to address all the homeless issues in City Hall. They had every bit of 16 or about 18 meetings last night. We went to every last one of them. And I'll be damned, every last meeting was about criminalization. They didn't have not one meeting where they talked about bringing some bottles of water right here, or cleaning up the sidewalks, or coming out here and asking homeless people what you need to help you get off the street. Every meeting was about how do we take their down? How do we move them out of here? How do we lock that up? Every meeting was about that. In fact, they passed 5 new anti-homeless laws in the city of Los Angeles last year, 2016, with the last one being the last day of City Hall, December the 21st. These passed a law saying that you cannot sleep in your car, 85.2, right? They passed the law, right? And then they ran out the door to run with their family for holiday vacations, right? Left the homeless man stuck like Chuck. So now you got women who got kids, you got other people who got kids, and if I'm homeless, if I got a car, I gotta park my car. I can't sleep in my car. I gotta park my car and get on the sidewalk. Why you pass a law where I can't sleep in my car? You understand me? I gotta sleep on the sidewalk. Right? It's more safer, secure for me to sleep in the streets. I mean, in the car than it is in the streets. You understand me? I'm less to get cold. I won't have to. These guys won't have to come get me. You know what I'm saying? I won't be, causing medical problems and medical bills. Then on top of that, the sidewalk can stay clean and free. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to worry about that. And it's just day after day after day after day after day after day after day on harassment, right? And people just fed on it. People are fed and tired. And that's why you see a group of community residents down there arguing with the police. Why come over here and writing all these homeless people tickets? What the hell? Every day, you write a homeless people ticket. One guy walked in our office the other day. He had 15 tickets. Now, about time the housing do kick in, here it is, the man ain't gonna have no ID. He like $5,000 in debt with the city on tickets. You know what I'm saying? How do people supposed to get housing and restart their life over when they stuck in this bound when you being criminalized? You know what I'm saying? People cannot get over the hump like this. And so the cops need to take a damn break. You know what I mean? That's why we cussed the mayor out this morning. You know what I mean? It's because he's responsible for this. For 2 years in a row, LA leads the nation in homelessness, right? And the mayor ain't doing a damn thing about it. He been quiet.
we look at the various subpopulations of the homeless population, and you see that in the poverty realm, and how many are rural, how many are urban, this number are drug addicted, this number are mentally ill. What is it they all have in common? Oh, we wiped out affordable housing funding, and that created homelessness. Mental illness existed prior to 1983. Racism existed prior to 1983. A drug addiction existed prior to 1983. So we know those are issues. We know those are issues throughout our community. That isn't the homeless issue, because those issues existed before we had the massive homelessness that we have today in America.
I remember waking up in the park every day and just mad because I woke up. And people used to tell me, it's a blessing you woke up, God loves you. And if you loved me, then you would just let me go. You know, you wouldn't keep waking me up to go through this another day.
Sometime me and a bunch of ladies, we would set up and we would talk. When we couldn't get a bed anywhere, a group of us would just say, well, this is the way it is. Some nights it'll be raining. We'd get a blanket and we sit underneath the bridges, and a bridge that you could stay on without getting wet. We stay on the bridges, and we would sit there sometime and we would talk to each other until we fall asleep.
My whole family, back when I was younger, they were drinkers, and so I kind of like took up the habit myself of drinking, and I became an alcoholic, and one thing led to another. I lost jobs through drinking and everything like that. And now I've been clean and sober for right at 2 months, and I'm very proud of myself for that. Yes, sir.
I felt everything fell apart in July. Everything. I lost my job. I lost my place to live. November 21st, I signed my kids' rights over. Even though the foster parents said, yeah, I want to keep them in their lives. Still.
I'm now 82 years old. I became homeless about 78, 79 years old. Was a pain because at the same time I acquired being diabetic. I can't pay my hospital bills and my doctor bills because they're horrendous. They're unbelievable. I do the best I can. I eat sparingly. I can eat on $75 a month if I'm very careful.
We didn't know anything about PTSD and stuff, back then. I didn't know what was wrong with me, I mean, I ended up hanging myself, and I don't talk about it this much, but my daughter was 4 years old at the time, and I was at a friend's house, and she came down the cellar and seen me. I used a sheet. She got it down, and I don't know what happened, but I came through, and the doctor, a couple of psychiatrists, asked me a question, and I just broke down. I just started crying. I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I mean, I want to live, but I don't want to live.
This is the last
stop on this train. Everyone, please leave the train. Thank you for riding with MTA New York City Transit.